do you fit the culture, and are you the right person for this job, and are you really good at it or not? And then it also comes down to energy levels, because people, that have the wrong energy, they can mess up all sorts of, this is very soft kind of skills that we're now talking about, but they can mess up all sorts of other stuff. So the first one is called the bigger carrot. In the corporate world, someone comes to you with a slightly bigger carrot and people start running again and doing what they're supposed to do. And in entrepreneurship, maybe the shiny object or the bigger carrot is other opportunities that come along your way all the time, and you can lose focus. Sometimes, understanding that there is a bigger carrot, or the grass is greener on the other side, and all of these kind of things, you actually just need to focus and execute on what you plan to do, because that will get you to the next step. Yeah, for 17 years until I was about 23, what was everything that I was breathing, whether it's going to the gym or lifting weights in the summer, extra sessions. You really don't realize all the transferable skills that you're picking up through sports. So a lot of it around discipline and resilience and never giving up, and seeing light at the end of the tunnel, even though you can't imagine it right now because you're in the trenches.
You've probably heard the expression, success is a team sport, and if you haven't, well, I'm sure it's pretty self-explanatory. Individuals, even with the best idea in the world, cannot find real lasting success without collaboration and teamwork. So if you're born with a team sports, team first mindset, then there's a good chance you've got what it takes to be a founder. And one man who absolutely encapsulates these qualities is my guest today, Tarik Chebib. Tarik is CEO of Middle Eastern Emerging Markets Operations at renowned trading platform Capital.com. Prior to this, he was head of sales at IG and more recently, head of Middle East at Pepperstone. He's also the founder of the excellent No Money But Dreams podcast, and somehow still has time to play team sports 4 to 5 times a week. So join me as we find out just how he finds the time to do all of this. I'm Dan from AraGeek. Tarik Chebib, welcome to Founder's Voice.
Hi. Nice that you're having me.
We are delighted to have you here. So, as we would have heard in the intro, you are quite the sports nut, from what I hear. I think I read in your bio, you play 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, if you look at my past, I've since the age of 6, I've taken up sports, and then it became my life. Probably from teenage years onwards. And then at 16, someone told me, if you put a couple more years of hard work in, you can probably become a professional basketball player. And so I worked really hard. And then in 2005, a long time ago now, I became a professional basketball player in Germany, and got to the Bundesliga and played with some amazing players. And yeah, for 17 years until I was about 23, what was everything that I was breathing, whether it's going to the gym or lifting weights in the summer, extra sessions. I used to have 17 sessions a week, 2 hours each. I could say that I was very obsessed, and then I took a bit of
My muscles ache just hearing that.
Yeah, I was in constant pain. And then a few years ago, and then I reduced the basketball thing because of joints and all sorts of different stuff. And then I started lifting more. And a couple of years ago, I started playing basketball again. And now I play 3 times a week and I had 3 times gym. So yes, I try and keep busy. It really helps me balance my day, and I get it out first thing in the morning, which really helps. When you come into the office, you already have dopamine hit and you're ready to take on whatever the day brings.
I wish I was a morning person. The only thing I'm capable of lifting in the morning is my cup of coffee.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen very effective people that work through the night. Because I get up, it doesn't matter what day it is, probably around 6 o'clock. I get tired around 9, 10, and I go and have a good sleep. Sleep is very important for recovery. Otherwise, you can't perform.
Oh, yeah. Same for learning as well. It's something that's massively overlooked. I think people, especially when you're younger and you want to do everything, get so obsessed with the idea of doing more. I was very guilty of just going, right, I need to do this thing. I was obsessed with student radio when I was a student. And so I'd be like, right, I've got to do all the jingles. And so I need to get all those done. And then I'd sit down. But of course, I'm a student. So I'll go out, have fun with my friends, come back. It's now midnight, but I've still got to get this done. And I go, okay, it'll only take an hour. And then looking at my watch, and it's now 6 a.m, and I'm still going. And it just so I feel one has to work with one's brain, as and the more you understand yourself, the more effective you can be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously now I've had a fair share of reflection and understanding myself, and for everyone it works differently. But for me, that works. So I'm just leaning into what I think is some of my strengths, and I go from there.
So what I want to really dig into then is how sort of the what started out as an obsession with sports and a desire to go down that line professionally. What lessons you've taken from that into your sort of financial and entrepreneurial career?
Yeah, I mean, when at the time when you're doing it, you really don't realize all the transferable skills that you're picking up through sports. A lot of it around discipline and resilience and never giving up and seeing light at the end of the tunnel, even though you can't imagine it right now because you're in the trenches. So there's a lot of things that I've picked up, not knowing at the time how beneficial it would be later on in life, and that has also helped me propel my career and move forward because when you get into the corporate world, it's a lot softer and people don't really use their elbows as much. And, there may be some backstabbing, but
There's a metaphorical elbows.
Yes, exactly. So, I think that has really helped me to compete on a corporate level, because you just know that when you put in a lot of work, something good will come out of it. Maybe not the exact goal that you wanted, but you have taken your career forward, and at some point you should see the benefit from it. So, yeah, I owe a lot of my career now in the corporate world down to sports and being very focused in that area.
So when you decided to make that shift and move away from professional sports, what was that process like? What did you do? Was there like a moment where you thought, this isn't going to work for me, I need to think of something else? Or was it more one of those things where it was always going to be that way, that you always knew in the back of your mind, it's sports, it won't last forever, I need something running in parallel?
Well, a bit of both. I mean, for me, I'm 5'11", I'm not 6'11". So for basketball, you need height. And, once you're on the other side and you actually make a team and you see how competitive it is, you understand your ceiling. And I understood very quickly that I could do this in my 20s and maybe get by, but it's not like football where you get 100 grand a week and you can live very happily ever after. And I was always very interested in business. I've worked with my family business since I was 12, and so I always had this parallel kind of interest, and I really want to understand how to do this professionally. And so I wanted to study business. I didn't want to study it in German, I wanted to study it in English. That's how I ended up in London, and so it was an easy shift for me. It wasn't like I felt like.
This episode is brought to you by AraGeek Studio. So you're a startup spending big on performance campaigns, juggling content that doesn't convert, and still missing a solid digital growth strategy. And to make it worse, most agencies in MENA charge a fortune and treat you just like another client. But here's the good news. Our sister company and sponsor AraGeek Studio does things differently. They treat you like a partner, not just another project, fully aligned with your goals, your customers, and your growth. They've been in the game for 14 years, run by the same people behind AraGeek.com, and they've delivered fantastic results for companies like Labia, Cura, Mali, and even Google. Let AraGeek Studio's experts help you cut down your burn rate and bring customers with smart, scalable growth marketing strategies that actually work. Just head to studio.arageek.com/founder and book your free consultancy session. Again, that's studio.arageek.com/founder to book your free consultancy session today. AraGeek Studio, smart growth marketing built for startups in the MENA region.
I had achieved what I wanted to achieve from sports. And so then I wanted to chase my next goal and basically reset and start from zero. And then I went down academics and got a couple of degrees, and then entered the business world.
I've just got a couple of degrees, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning it was tough because, English is obviously not my first language. And so that took a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I had great education there, and that doesn't really set you up for success anymore because everyone now has a degree and you're competing with hundreds and thousands of people for the same jobs. But it gives you structure and it gives you a better understanding of the theoretical concepts that you could maybe apply in the business world, even though most of what I study, obviously, I don't use on a day-to-day, just like most people don't.
Well, this is the thing, though. I think that people don't necessarily consider with university education, because I know that what I studied, 99% of what they taught then would not be what they teach anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that's certainly true for things like business and many other fields. That's not quite the point. The point is that by the time you come out of university, your understanding is up to date enough that now you can keep up with the changes that all the professionals also have to keep up with. It's not like some magic thing where they can tell what the industry is going to look like in a few years and we'll give you the perfect training for that. All they can tell you is what they know now and then say, right, take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I agree with that. Still a great base to have.
Thank you. So anyway, moving on then, let's have a chat. Let's talk about what you're doing today. Capital.com. And the fact that you also it says CEO for the Middle East, but I assume just for Capital.com. You're not CEO of the Middle East, because that's quite a big title.
Yeah, no, it is for Capital.com. I have been in the region now for 10 years. So yeah, 10 years ago, I moved out here with a British firm, and I've brought a couple of firms here into the Middle East and built up their presence here. And financial services is a ever growing field here in the region. There's huge risk takers that move here, whether it's most people, they want to better their lives. So we have a lot of Asian influence here. We have a lot of Arab influence here, and then we have the Western kind of expats. So very different kind of pockets of people that try and come and make something of this very young land here. And so it was a very interesting period. I thought I was late in 2014, and then COVID came around and a bunch more people came. And now it seems like this melting pot where a lot of people come to Dubai and try it out.
Absolutely. Especially now, I think we're about to see a huge shift. Just given global politics at the moment, I think there's going to be a huge change in focus towards the MENA region, because it just makes sense for so many people, just both geographically and just in terms of the economics of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not
sorry.
paying income tax is a nice little thing, and having the sun here every day, and these are all the things that everyone knows about Dubai. But once you move here and you live here, it's a very different lifestyle. It's just you have a lot more time for yourself. I used to commute to work in London, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back.
Where were you? I'm an ex-Londoner. I always have to know.
Yeah, well, work was in bank, and I used to commute with the train into Waterloo. So yeah, it was an hour.
Oh, what, you lived out of London?
Yes.
So where were you coming from? Sorry, I know this is not irrelevant stuff, but I always like to know. Where were you?
All the way down in Surrey. So.
Oh, that is a hell of a commute. Yeah.
Yes. But it was fun.
Oh yeah, I think it's the London experience is well worth having, even if in many ways, the point of the experience is to get to the other end and go, oh, wow, no, I don't need to live like this.
Yes, exactly.
That said, then, how has your approach changed, and what's the finance picture look like in the MENA region compared to when you were in the UK?
Yeah, I think the regulators here, they have done a fantastic job to promote, free zones and the onshore environment, where a lot more companies, whether it's hedge funds and private equity firms and brokers like us, come and set up shop and try and cater to the region from Dubai or from the UAE. And so it felt 10 years ago that there was still quite a gap between here and the UK and other more sophisticated kind of financial environments. But over the last few years, we have really caught up, and it's been fantastic to be part of this. I mean, I remember when I came here in the financial free zone, there were 25,000 people working there. Now it's double, and we've run out of space, and they're increasing the free zone even more. So it just tells you the scale, and it's really firms from everywhere, whether it's from the US, from India, from Australia. It doesn't matter from where do you see people. There's such a huge influx of people that are coming here.
I can understand that. Like I said, I say I understand that. Like I said, I see that as a real up and coming area, particularly now in the current state of things. But rather now, let's briefly talk about, well, I say your past, your more recent past, looking at your leadership roles. I'm intrigued to know what you'd say of your time as a leader, what your biggest challenge has been and what you did to overcome it?
I think once you get into leadership positions and you have a couple of years under your belt, you very quickly start thinking, I know how this works. I know what to do. Or we have always done it like this. This is how the industry does it. And you just kind of coast and follow what everyone else is doing. And you think that's the right way of doing it. And so when you work for an established firm, that may work. But when you start working for firms that are maybe smaller or startups even, you quickly realize that you don't have 50 years of brand value in the market and you have to start everything from scratch. And so my biggest challenge here was really to reset my brain and adapt to the current environment and really do something completely different, because the Middle East, just as much as it is changing with people coming in, technology is changing. People are online a lot, which in other jurisdictions, there was no TikTok, there was none of these kind of things. And people were laughing about TikTok in particular, or Snapchat, or any other thing. And now, because we have leaned into it, we are reaping the rewards and other people are playing catch up. So really, that is the biggest challenge, to always be humble enough and understand it doesn't matter what position you have or who you are or what success you have had in the past, to stay humble and really try and analyze the situation and be open to doing new things to push your company forward.
I get that. I think it's one of those unspoken challenges of CEOs, that because it's not a very nice thing to want to talk about. But when you are in charge of a company and your job is to tell everyone that your company is the best company in the world that does the best at everything and you should totally buy our stuff all the time. So you've got to be the one banging on the gong the loudest and making yourself look like the hero the most so that people trust you. But at the same time, I find that what if your customer support worked 24/7, spoke multiple languages, and never needed a coffee break? Let's face it, legacy platforms are slow, expensive, and make scaling painful. Long wait times, repetitive questions, burnt-out teams. Sound familiar? Say hello to Mando AI, your smart customer support and sales assistant, built to help startups and growing businesses do more with less. With Mando, you can launch an AI customer service agent in just 2 minutes with no tech headaches. Let AI handle 60% of your sales and support queries. Escalate complex issues to your team instantly with full context, and get real-time insights to improve your support game. Businesses using Mando cut support costs by 35% and boost satisfaction by 42% without hiring more agents. Visit mando.cx and use the code FoundersVoice to get your first 3 months free. That's mando.cx, code FoundersVoice, all one word, for 3 months on us. Let AI handle support so your team can focus on what matters with Mando AI. If you actually start to genuinely believe it, you start to get into trouble. I see a lot of CEOs in companies large and small, of all sizes I've seen this, that they think that the reason that they're employing people is because they don't have time to do the other jobs, not because the people they're employing are more expert in that area you should be employing someone because they're the best person for that job, even better than you. You're best at being CEO. You're not necessarily best at doing that role. Hire the person who's best at that. But if you're just considering everyone to be extensions of you, then you're always going to look down on your staff as if they are your subordinates, not your equals. And so you won't listen to anyone, and you'll end up just doing what you want to do because if you've thought of it, it must be true and must be right, because you're always right.
Yeah, it's very easy to hire people around you that are just saying yes to everything and don't actually challenge you, especially when you have the title. And so,
sorry, this may have been hitting me just a little too personally. Carry it.
No, and that's really important. Hiring is one of these other challenges that I think a lot of the times you kind of try and outsource to HR or to the manager that you have hired. And one of the things that I've made my priority is to meet everyone that we're hiring and to really assess them and not just say yes to anyone that comes through the door, because you may be able to do the job, but do you fit the culture, and are you the right person for this job, and are you really good at it or not? And then it also comes down to energy levels, because people, that have the wrong energy, they can mess up all sorts of, this is very soft kind of skills that we're now talking about, but they can mess up all sorts of other stuff. So, and everything that I'm telling you now is because I've experienced the bad side of it, right? I have experienced how people just are on autopilot and do everything like they've always done it before. And I've done this to an extent. And once you fall on your face and you see that that isn't working, then you wake up and say, oh, I need to change hiring, or I need to change how to do growth. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of challenges along the way to get to the point where I am now, and I will continue learning over the next decade and see, hopefully stay flexible, because the older you get, the more experience you get, the harder that actually becomes.
Absolutely. And just picking up on something you were just saying there about how people just do the same thing over and over again because that's what we've always done. What I find particularly one of the worst pieces of advice in business is also a total misquote. And I apologize for listeners who've heard me mention this before, but the point that Einstein allegedly said doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is madness, or words to that effect. Not only is that palpably not true, he would also have definitely said the opposite, because it's terrible, terrible advice. Exactly what you're saying here. Too many CEOs think that just, well, it worked last time, why wouldn't it work again? Maybe because you didn't understand all the variables. Maybe the market's changed. In fact, the reason it's not successful this time is because it was so successful last time. It's like every time you've gone to see a sequel and they've just thought, well, let's just do the same film, but slightly different. Yeah, now they're in New York or whatever. And it's the same thing. It might sound glib, but it's true with businesses. Businesses that go, well, it worked this way last year, it'll work this way this year. And then get surprised when you don't stay new and relevant, how you fall behind. You should always expect a different result in business, regardless of what you're doing. The trick is to work out what changes made the difference and how.
Yeah. And that is sometimes difficult to pinpoint, and you have to go with your gut, and then it becomes very interesting.
Absolutely. And going with your gut then, one thing we've not covered yet is your podcast. So apart from having a chance to plug it, why don't you tell me a bit more about No Money But Dreams, which I like the title of, and how it came about?
Yeah, this is one of the experiments that I've run. I was a big podcast fan myself. I have a friend that is a entrepreneur, and I sit in the corporate side. So we thought, we talk a lot about business. How about we do a podcast that tackles different topics from two different angles, from the entrepreneurship angle and from the corporate angles. That's how we started, and we've done 40, 50 episodes, and yeah, we've had some fun with it, taking some breaks, coming back, but it's still going.
Brilliant. I mean, would you just give our listeners a bit of a preview of what they can expect if they go check it out? You should totally go check it out. But yeah, if you could think of one episode, maybe give us a synopsis of your favorite highlight.
Yeah, it's actually the first one. The first one is called The Bigger Carrot. In the corporate world, someone comes to you with a slightly bigger carrot and people start running again and doing what they're supposed to do. And in entrepreneurship, maybe the shiny object or the bigger carrot is other opportunities that come along your way all the time, and you can lose focus. And we've recorded this almost 2 years ago, and it really comes back to me all the time. Just did a post on LinkedIn where I said, this year is really going to be focused and I'm not going to get distracted. And every time I come back from holidays, you're overflowing with ideas of all the different things that you could do. And it just is a distraction. So sometimes, understanding that there is a bigger carrot, or the grass is greener on the other side, and all of these kind of things, you actually just need to focus and execute on what you plan to do, because that will get you to the next step. And so I love listening back to that episode, and I think there's a lot of value. And we had loads of people reach out all the way from Singapore to New York that were listening to this. And I'm proud of that episode.
Sounds like I'm going to have to go check that one out, because I haven't started at the beginning. I didn't realize it went back 2 years. Yeah. The fact that you're still going after 2 years already puts you probably at least in the top 5% of podcasts, because most of them don't make it that long. This one's only been going since it launched this year, so we're only months into our journey. But hopefully I'll be on the other side of somebody else's podcast soon, talking about how, when we set this up 5 years ago. But we'll see. So one thing we haven't yet touched on, and I'm aware time is getting a little bit away from us, but one thing that I noticed in your profile, and you've mentioned a few times, and we haven't brought up on this interview yet, is you coined the term luck surface area. It's very intriguing, and I want to know more. So, what is your luck surface area, and what can one do to increase it?
Yeah, I mean, the luck surface area is like when people come to you and say, "Oh, you got lucky here," or "You got lucky there," and "Oh, you're so lucky," and they
Yeah, that'd
just
be my mate John. Sorry, carry on.
they just see the tip of the iceberg, right? And you have, well, you should always try to increase your luck surface area. What that basically means is you work really hard and on a lot of different things, and at some point when luck wants to come your way, or when people get lucky, you're the one that is being chosen because you have proven yourself many different times, right? So I think, I can give you an example, like internships, for example. When you are in university, or additional projects at work, or whatever you want to call it, those kind of opportunities, once you have 3-4 internships under your belt, obviously you get lucky getting a really good job because they can see that you're putting in the work. Or at work, you may get chosen for a promotion because you have done 3 extra projects without asking for additional pay, and you have actually proven yourself, and then someone remembers you. It's not that difficult, but a lot of people just expect things without something in return first. And I think, I was taught this early in my career, where someone promised me a promotion after 6 months of proving myself in a job that I had no business doing. And I said, yeah, I just want to do it. And if anything, I'll be left with the experience and don't get anything out of it, but I'm willing to put in the time. And that was later then rewarded. So yeah, I'm a big believer of getting lucky by increasing the luck surface area.
I think that makes sense. It's as they've always said, you've got to put yourself out there, and you've got to roll the dice more times for it to. I think the best way to put it, if you want to put it in the simplest, most glib terms possible, is that you've got a 50-50 chance of flipping a coin and it landing heads. But what are your chances of getting at least one heads if you flip it 10 times? Because that's the thing with luck. It only needs to happen the once. It doesn't need to happen over and over again. But if you only try once and it doesn't work, and I think we're all guilty of this. I know I'm very guilty of this. The number of jobs I've never gotten because I only tried for one in that field, didn't get it, went, well, guess it's not for me, and moved on, which was a way of convincing myself that I'm in the right, and it's not just me being lazy and not wanting to do 400 different job applications.
Yeah.
But talking of jobs then, before we wrap this thing up, because we really are short on time now, what does how I'm going to put this, what does your future look like? Your personal vision for your professional future? Do you think there's something that you, like sort of a large goal or a big project in mind that you see down the line, something like that? Or are you just sort of seeing where the chips land?
I mean, going from A to B can be done in many different ways, right? With lots of twists and turns in between, or it can be done the German way, where you just take the straightest route. And for me,
I'm sure there's a single word for that as well.
Yes, for my career, it was always twists and turns. And what my most important thing is that I wake up in the morning energized about what I'm working on, and that continues to stay that way. And then we see where life takes it. I have the advantage that I can experiment on lots of different things at the moment, and that is really fulfilling for me. And so I want to keep it that way, and then we'll see where I'll be in 5 to 10 years.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to watching you on that journey and seeing where it goes. Until then, before we wrap things up, Tarik, is there anything you want our listeners or viewers to know about, anywhere they can track you down? Obviously, there's the No Money But Dreams podcast, which I assume is available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yep.
But if there's anything else you want to plug, now is your chance.
Well, the most active, I'm on LinkedIn, so it's very easy to find me there. I post daily, which has been a year and a bit journey, and yeah, I'm trying to build a brand there, and aside from that, if you want to find me, you'll find me.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to doing so and having you back on the show again at some point in the future. Tarik Chebib, thank you again so much for joining us. And thank you, of course, all for listening or watching or however you're engaging with the show. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And I will see you on the next episode of Founder's Voice.